The shocking truth about the BR0THEL in Pompeii, a bone-chilling journey to the past at midnight. It was a night like no other in Pompeii, when shadows danced beneath the flickering street lamps, casting eerie silhouettes on the ancient stones. The haunting remnants of a city caught in time whispered stories of untold mysteries. But tonight, the air buzzed with an unsettling energy, a chilling reminder of the lives once lived here. As midnight approached, a group of tourists stumbled upon an old brothel, hidden behind crumbling walls. It was said that this place, once vibrant and alive, held secrets darker than the midnight sky. A notorious hub of desire and despair, adorned with faded frescoes depicting lust and longing. Each delicate painting told a tale of passion, yet behind their beauty lay an undercurrent of sorrow, of lives unfulfilled, dreams shattered. The locals warned of strange happenings, whispers echoing through the empty rooms as if the very walls held memories of the past. With every step closer, the tourists could feel the air change heavy, thick with the weight of forgotten souls. A shiver traveled down their spines as the wind howled through the cracks. Then someone screamed. Just a playful shout, but it suddenly turned serious. Laughter turned to uneasy murmurs. What if something else lurked within those walls? Something watching, waiting, something caught the corner of one tourist's eye. Was it just a trick of the light? A figure in a darkened doorway? Heart racing, they turned to look, but nothing was there. The others, suddenly aware, exchanged worried glances. They felt it too, a presence wrapped in the veil of history and time, tangible yet ghostly. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The group hesitated, feeling the pull of curiosity despite their fear. What secrets could this brothel unveil if they dared to enter? As they took a collective breath and stepped through the threshold, the atmosphere thickened. The dim light barely illuminated their way, revealing dust motes swirling in the stillness like lost memories. They moved as one, hearts pounding in unison, drawn deeper into the heart of the brothel, unaware of what awaited them in the shadows, a truth more shocking than they could ever imagine. What unspeakable things had transpired here? The night was just beginning, and the secrets of Pompeii were about to unveil their chilling tale. The interior of the brothel was suffocating. The air felt hot and stale, clinging to their skin like damp cloth. The tourists slowly fanned out, eyes wide, scanning the room for anything unusual. Every creak of the ancient floorboard sent a fresh wave of anxiety through them. The faded frescoes loomed over them, grotesque images of passion distorted by time, a reminder of the lives once intertwined here, now nothing more than echoes of the past. Guys, look at this. One of them whispered, pointing towards a narrow hallway leading deeper into the brothel. The darkness seemed to breathe, inviting yet forbidding. It was impossible to tell what lay ahead. Shadows cloaked the walls, shifting as if alive. In hesitant tones, they dared each other to explore further. A sense of foreboding hung heavy as they moved, the whispers of long-lost souls seeming to taunt them. They passed through the hallway, their footsteps reverberating, sending unsettling vibrations through the air. Suddenly, a chill snaked down their spines, and one of the tourists stopped dead in their tracks. "Did you hear that?" they said, eyes darting around. A low moan echoed from the room around them. It flickered through the air like a ghostly caress. The group froze, heartbeats thudding loudly in their ears. "Maybe we should go back," another suggested, but the words felt weak, lost against the haunting sound that lingered. "No. We have to see," the bravest of them said, swallowing hard, as curiosity battled with fear. Their hearts raced, the allure of mystery pulling them closer to the source of the ghastly sound. They shuffled forward to a door marked by a heavy wooden beam, dark and sturdy. With a collective glance, they pushed it open, the creaking sound eerie in the oppressive silence. The room inside was illuminated only by a single flickering candle, casting a warm glow that fought against the shadows. As they stepped inside, it was as if time had stopped. The walls were adorned with more vivid frescoes, images far more shocking than those seen before. They depicted scenes of violence intermingled with desire, portraits of sorrow intertwined with fleeting ecstasy. A heavy scent of something sweet yet foul hung in the air. Then, out of the corner of her eye, one tourist spotted it, a figure emerging from the darkness, a woman clad in tattered clothing, her hollow eyes staring straight through them, as if she could see the very depths of their souls. She stepped into the weak light, a shiver ran through the group as her movements were both graceful and grotesque. "Help me," she whispered, her voice a haunting melody that drew them in. But something in her gaze spoke of danger, a warning unheard. "What happened to you?" One of the tourists found courage to ask, their voice quaking, but the woman only shook her head, a bitter smile twisting her lips. "This place it never forgets." A cold breeze rushed through the room, extinguishing the candle and plunging them into darkness. Panic set in as they stumbled back, colliding against each other, frantically trying to find a way out. The power of the past was overwhelming and oppressive, like fingers tightening around their throats. Shadows danced wickedly, and whispers crescendoed, echoing the anguish and ecstasy that this house had witnessed. The tourists heard sounds, hushed voices, cries of laughter, and deep moans mixing into a cacophony that drowned out rational thought. Just as they were about to bolt for the exit, a loud bang ricocheted through the room, followed by a piercing scream. Someone was missing. Was it truly a game they were playing, or had it become a nightmare? The walls seemed to close in. As they stumbled toward the doorway, dread gnawed at them stronger than ever. What darkness lurked in the shadows, waiting to claim yet another soul? And what awaited them beyond the threshold? They burst through the door, gasping for air, adrenaline giving them strength to flee, but the truth of the brothel had only just begun to reveal itself. They were not alone. The night held secrets woven deep into Pompeii's very fabric. Would they uncover the truth of the brothel, or would it consume them entirely? The group stumbled out into the main room, hearts pounding, breaths shallow. Outside the grip of the darkness, the ambient noise of the ancient house seemed to linger. Voices echoed in their minds, twisting their thoughts into a tangled web of dread. "Where is she?" one shouted, scanning every corner of the brothel, eyes wild with fear. They had entered as a unit, but now terror had fractured their bond. "I don't know, it was so chaotic," another whimpered, shaking as they grasped the edge of a battered table. They could still hear the last echoes of the woman's chilling plea. Something primal inside urged them to leave, to escape the clutches of whatever darkness had drawn them in. The flickering candle had gone, darkness rushed in like a wave, and with it a sudden quiet. The once flourish of whispers faded, replaced by a heavy silence that seemed to soak into the walls. It was an unnatural stillness that made the air feel thicker, and their skin prickled with the weight of unseen eyes. "Listen," someone said, leaning closer to the nearest wall, the rough surface cool against their palm. A faint scratching noise came from behind it, rhythmic and insistent like a heartbeat. "What is that?" Terrified eyes darted around the room. "It sounds like someone else." Before the tourist could finish, a loud crash from the far corner startled them. The heavy old door burst open, and a figure stumbled out, disheveled and panting, soaked in shadows. It was the missing tourist. "Where have you been?" The group gasped, relief flooding through them, but the eyes of the newcomer told another story. His cheeks were gaunt, and his face pale. There was a wildness in his eyes that set them on edge. She was there. The woman. "She cursed me. I couldn't get away." He stammered, words tumbling over one another in a rush of panic. "She's in the walls, she won't let us leave." As his confession sank in, the scratching from the wall grew louder, almost frantic, slicing through the tension like a knife. Shadows flickered at the edge of their vision, wild like the panic that filled the air. "Stop!" one of the tourists shouted, clenching fists, desperation sharpening every word. "You have to focus. We need a plan." But just as hope glimmered, the air shifted once more, a sudden chill swirling through the room. A cold gust unraveled their fragile unity, sending shivers racing down their spines. Without warning, the wall beside them bulged, then split apart. A dark opening yawned, revealing a tunnel draped in shadows that swallowed the light whole. They gasped collectively, fear clenching their throats, tears threatening to spill over. "Should we go in?" One dared to whisper, as if voicing the thought could shatter the moment. "I'd rather face the darkness than stay here." Another snapped back, courage mingling with fear. The torn figure of the wandering tourist stood trembling. "She'll take you," but his voice was drowned out by a haunting laugh that echoed from the depths of the opening. "Don't you see?" A voice whispered from within. "You cannot escape." Her heartbeats quickened. This was no ordinary night, every moment felt woven with ancient magic and malevolent force. The group huddled, torn between leaving the cursed place and plunging deeper into the unknown. Each second felt elongated as uncertainty gripped them. On the precipice of choice, they felt the brothel's pulse, alive and aching with secrets. The laughter faded, replaced by a single plea echoing into their minds: "Will you stay or will you go?" In that chilling moment, they stood at a crossroads where shadows merged with reality. And unbeknownst to them, the darkness had already begun its game, turning the choice into a trap with thickening dread. They knew the only way forward would lead them deeper, not just into the brothel, but into their own fears. What awaited them in the dark mouth of the tunnel? What choice would seal their fate? The air refused to stir as silence hung heavy in the room. A collective breath was held between the group, each weighed down by an unspoken tension, escalating with every heartbeat. "Someone has to go first," one voice finally broke through the murmur of confusion. It was uncertain, hesitant, laced with fear. The shadows beckoned from the opening, stretching like hungry fingers toward them. "Not it!" Someone yelled, a touch of panic cutting through the thick atmosphere, as if claiming the title of coward would offer some reprieve from the terror. "I'll go," the wanderer said, his voice cracked and trembling. It was a hollow declaration, and it felt like a joke in the face of their predicament. No one believed him, including himself. He took a step forward, then another, edging closer to the chilling darkness that promised to unravel them. "Wait!" A woman called, her voice breaking. "What if it's a trap?" The laughter they had heard before whispered through the air again, rolling over them like mist. "It is," it seemed to say. "But you must choose." With a sudden surge of determination, the first tourist took hold of a torch from the nearby wall, the flames flickering uncertainly against the thickening darkness. It barely lit the way ahead, casting eerie shadows that danced with life. Soon, others moved closer, the beam illuminating patches of damp earth and rock. They huddled together, every step revealing the snake-like curve of the tunnel, pulling them into its depths. "We have to be careful," another voice warned. "We don't know what's down there." As the temperature dropped, each footfall echoed eerily against the stone, the chorus of their dread reverberating off unseen surfaces. The scratching noise followed, relentless and unnerving, now closing in like a predator lurking just out of sight. "What if we turn back?" one said quietly, fear flaring wild in their gaze. But behind them, the way back felt even darker than the tunnel. An invisible pressure bore down on them. They pressed forward, each of them caught in the gravitational pull of the unknown. The shadows grew alive, twisting shapes darting just beyond the reach of the torchlight. Deep down, a primal fear rose. It wasn't just the fear of the unknown, it was the sensation of something primal watching them, its anticipation thick in the air. "Did you hear that?" someone echoed, their voice a shuddering whisper. The air shifted again, colder somehow, and they faltered, stumbling to a halt. "What? What did you hear?" Just as they were about to answer, the laughter erupted again, now a cacophony, from all around them. It enveloped them. "Do you wish to stay?" It slithered through the stones, curling around them like smoke. "Do you?" Shivers ran down their spines, and eyes darted in every direction, helpless. What horrible promise lay twisted within that question? It played on their insecurities, their deepest fears. "I can't breathe," one choked out, gripping their throat as panic washed over them. "Hold on," another cried, pulling them forward. "We can't stop now." The tension thickened into something tangible, raw. They stepped further, the path narrowing until the walls seemed to breathe with them. Suddenly, a chilling whisper caressed their ears. "Stay or go. It's your choice forever." The crowd of tourists teetered on the brink of desperation, their faces pale and uncertain. Each flicker of the torch illuminated more than just the tunnel, it illuminated the fractures in their souls, the gnawing terror that perhaps this was their fate. "Guys, we need to," one started, but their voice caught on the tide of apprehension building around them. "Shut up." Another spat, "We'll get out. We'll find a way." But the tunnel stretched ahead, coiling into darkness. The question remained, gnawing at their sanity: what awaited them deeper in this shadowy abyss? What would they find when they finally broke the surface of their own fears? And then, just as they made a decision, a deafening crack shattered the silence overhead, and dust rained down around them. "Run!" someone screamed as the ground trembled. But down the burrow of shadows, a new sound arose, one that sent icy shards of fear through their veins, the unmistakable sound of footsteps rushing toward them, echoing their own, but with a sinister rhythm of its own. What stalked them in the dark? The choice was no longer theirs alone. Would they face the shadows together, or would the darkness separate them forever? The group spun around, their earlier bravado evaporating like morning mist. The torch flickered, casting erratic shadows that warped the cave walls into grotesque forms. Panic tightened like a vice around their lungs, and they stumbled, trying to orient themselves in the chaos. "Which way?" someone shouted, voice cracking under pressure. "We can't go back." A surge of adrenaline coursed through the wanderer. He instinctively lunged forward, leading the way deeper into the tunnel. "This way. We have to keep moving." The urgency in his voice took hold of the group, and they followed, hearts pounding in sync with the booming footsteps behind them. Dread dripped into their veins with every echo, a reminder that whatever followed was merciless. It felt as though the shadows themselves were snickering at their desperation. The whispers grew louder, a chorus of chilling taunts competing with the frantic rhythm of their own heartbeats. "Stay, stay forever." The voices twisted around them, blending with the sound of their fear-fueled breaths. They sprinted, legs heavy, but the tunnel twisted and turned like a living thing, disorienting them. At some points, the ceiling dipped low, and they had to duck. It was claustrophobic, each breath a struggle against the tightening darkness. Someone fell behind, tripping on the uneven ground, and a scream pierced the air, cutting through the cacophony of sinister laughter. "Help! I can't." The voice was swallowed by the walls as if the tunnel itself had consumed them. "Keep going," the wanderer shouted, though the command felt hollow. Did they really leave one of their own behind? The guilt washed over him like cold water, but there was no time to dwell on it. They pressed on, desperate. Suddenly, the ground heaved, sending half of the group tumbling forward. Dust boiled up from the floor, fine particles stinging their eyes. A jagged crack splintered the earth, opening like a mouth ready to swallow them whole. "Stay close," cried a woman, but fear pushed them forward like a powerful current, each step dragging them further down. Just as their strength began to wane, the tunnel opened up, spilling them into a cavernous chamber dimly illuminated by strange bioluminescent fungi clinging to the walls. "Look!" someone breathed, pointing. In the center of the chamber was an old altar, stone-worn and cracked. An ominous aura surrounded it, a palpable weight that pressed on their chests. But the sense of wonder was quickly overshadowed by a creeping dread. The laughter faded, replaced by a thick silence. Then it returned, a whisper at the edges of their consciousness. "You have come to claim your truth." "What truth?" demanded the wanderer, voice trembling with defiance. An air of perverse satisfaction rolled through the chamber. The walls pulsed, and the fungi responded rhythmically with soft glows. A form slithered into view, blending of shadow and light. The truth is not what you seek, but what seeks you. Chills erupted up their spines as the shape morphed, grotesque features sharpening into focus. It loomed over the altar, a figure neither human nor beast, eyes glinting like daggers. Join me, and you'll discover the secrets of Pompeii or remain lost, too afraid to know. The wanderer's heart thundered in his ears. Was this the moment they would succumb to their deepest fears, or could they summon the courage to confront the truth? The air vibrated with tension, uncertainty hung thick. Questions loomed overhead like dark clouds. What do we do? Someone whispered, panic palpable. Trust or flee, the figure hissed. In that moment, an urgent reality dawned. It was not just their lives at stake, it was their very souls. But as the entity's eyes fixed on them, unblinking, seemingly probing their innermost fears, they realized the stakes were even higher. What would they sacrifice? As the shadows thickened around them, the wanderer took a step toward the altar, drawn by a force he couldn't resist. The others hesitated, fear rooting them in place. Come on. We have to decide now. But was that the right choice? Somewhere deep within the shadows, the laughter echoed again. It mirrored the depths of their own trepidation. What awaited them at the altar? And would they emerge from this darkness as allies or enemies? The journey to the heart of their fears had just begun. The wanderer stepped forward again, heart racing, as he felt the chill of unseen eyes watching them. The whispers intensified, swirling around him like a tempest, each refused choice suffocating him further. He could see the doubt etched on the faces of his friends, fear quivering on the edges of their lips, drawing him back. Don't you feel it? He called, desperation creeping into his voice. It's calling us. We can't turn back now. Or we could choose survival, a man grunted, pushing against the swell of terror. This thing, whatever it is, might just bring us to our doom. The entity twisted slightly, its form shifting, a crooked smile forming on its ambiguous face. You think mere flesh can dictate your fate? It is the soul that matters. What will you sacrifice for knowledge? Instantly, the air became electric, a weighty tension spawning an urge to flee and a yearning to uncover the truth that had lured them into the depths. Horror rippled through the wanderer, yet he felt the pull toward the altar grow stronger with every word the figure spoke. Fate has brought you here, it continued, almost mockingly. One of you will unveil the truth, while the others remain mere echoes. He looked back at the group, eyes darting from one face to another. We can't let fear win. We came for answers. This is our chance. A woman, trembling, suddenly bolted toward the exit they had escaped from, her breath ragged with panic. I can't do this. I refuse. Wait. The wanderer shouted, reaching out desperately, but she was already gone, swallowed by the darkness behind them. The way she fled felt like the plunge of a dagger in his gut, an acute reminder of the choices made in desperation. Do you see? She has chosen, the creature hissed, a cruel tone woven through its soft, slippery voice. The chamber shifted slightly, walls breathing, folding inward, as if the ground itself was awake, hungry. The vibrant fungi pulsed in sync with the gathering dread, their glow growing ominous, hungry for fears unleashed. The atmosphere thickened, almost tangible. The wanderer's heartbeat thundered in his ears as he realized his remaining friends stood frozen, all eyes on him. We can face this together. He implored, grounding his voice with conviction. What if we each sacrifice our fear instead of ourselves? For a brief moment, hope flickered in the air. One by one, they lowered their heads, contemplating the possibility of collective strength over individual dread. Why not? A young man finally murmured, fists clenched. What's to stop us from banding together? Exactly. The wanderer exclaimed, emboldened by the budding spirit of collaboration. We can't let this thing drive us apart. If it feeds on fear, let us face it head on. Together. The entity chuckled, a sound that scraped against their insides. Brave little mortals, receiving a taste of unity. But do you dare to see what lies within? As those words echoed, the altar glimmered, revealing dark symbols etched deep into the stone. A vision flickered in their collective mind, a view of Pompeii not as a ruin, but alive with secrets, a web of intertwined lives, lusts, and tragic fates. "None of you understand your past or what binds you to it," the figure said, its eyes pinpricks of malevolence. "Embrace your truth, or be lost forever." The wanderer's skin crawled under the weight of that ultimatum. What truth awaited them? Would it shatter them or set them free? Suddenly, the cavern trembled, and the very walls moaned as if the earth itself resented their challenge. They stood teetering on the brink of revelation and madness, a choice looming before them. "Do we face the truth together?" he asked, voice stronger, trembling in resolve, but before they could answer, the ground split beneath their feet, a vortex of shadow opening wide, and the air filled with a chilling laugh that promised to drag them into the depths of unspeakable horrors. As they clung to each other, what lay at the bottom of this pit? Would they find clarity or only more decay? The gritty veil of darkness uncoiled around them, and they could only wonder. What awaited below? The last echoes of the creature's laughter faded into an oppressive silence, wrapping the group in a suffocating shroud. The ground beneath them buckled and twisted, as if it wanted to consume them whole. They could only cling to each other, pulses racing as fear coursed through their veins like icy water. With a violent jolt, they were yanked into the depths of the pit, darkness swallowing the faint glimmers of the cavern behind them. Their screams coalesced, a cacophony of terror, a sound that seemed to reverberate long after their lips stopped moving, floating in the heavy air. Then, suddenly, light pierced the darkness. Blinding and hot, it pushed against their skin, drawing them into its warmth. As the oppressive shadows fell away, they tumbled onto solid ground, sprawling in disarray. The scene before them was nothing they had ever imagined. They were in a bustling marketplace, vibrant and alive. The air was thick with spices, and laughter rang through the streets. People moved about cheerfully, unaware of the chaos that had just swallowed the wanderers. That he blinked against the brightness, searching for something familiar, anything to anchor him in this sudden shift in reality. His friends picked themselves up, eyes wide like saucers, soaking in the bizarre juxtaposition of chaos and normalcy. "What just happened?" a young woman gasped, brushing dirt off her clothes, her eyes darting about, desperate to make sense of it all. I think we're in Pompeii," the wanderer stammered, his heart still racing. "But it feels alive, not like the ruins we know." "Yes," a man shouted, fear melting into excitement. "We're in the past. How can we be here?" A distant sound of trumpets interrupted them, followed by music and voices blending into a festive symphony. The marketplace was filled with merchants shouting their wares and children chasing each other, their laughter echoing against the stone buildings. As they stood there, trying to comprehend the wonder before them, the entity's voice slithered back into their minds. It echoed, lingering in the air like a miasma. "Do you wish to uncover what once was? Every choice you make shapes this destiny or tears it apart." The wanderer felt a shudder run through him. Clarity and danger coexisted in this world, they were both participants and observers. Without thinking, he stepped forward, drawn toward a pulsating energy in the very center of the square. It felt urgent, alive. "Where are you going?" another friend called out, eyes filled with unsure caution. "I need to see it," he replied, voice firm, driving him forward. With every step, he could feel the essence of lost lives surrounding him, sensations seizing his chest. Their fates, their desires. It was intoxicating. Then, just ahead, he glimpsed a figure, a woman draped in sheer, flowing fabric, her eyes dark pools of allure. She beckoned him closer, an enigmatic smile playing on her lips. He hesitated, his breathing shallow, gripped by an intoxicating mix of fear and intrigue. "Come, traveler of time," she called, her voice a melody weaving through the disarray of the marketplace. "I know your truth, will you dare to learn?" Before he could respond, he felt his friends pull closer, unsure, their nerves charged. "What if this is part of the trap?" one whispered, vulnerability painting his voice. "Can we trust her?" But the wanderer felt a deeper pull, the promise of revelations that could clarify or shatter everything they knew. He turned to face his friends, thoughts racing through his mind. We have to find out, don't you see? This may be our only chance to understand what we're facing. The woman grinned wider, as if the very fabric of reality hung in the balance. Would they reveal their secrets with the next step, or would they descend deeper into the abyss of terror and temptation? The air thickened, and as she extended her hand towards him, the wanderer knew that a choice loomed just out of reach, one that would forever change their fates. With every heartbeat, the uncertainty crashed around them like waves. Were they ready to dive deeper into this chaotic web of the past, and what truth would ultimately unveil itself? They stood at the precipice, hearts racing, knowing their next move held the potential for revelation or ruin. Would they follow her into the mysteries of Pompeii, or would they retreat from the dark pull of destiny? The woman's smile widened, a glimmer of magic swirling in her dark eyes. The marketplace buzzed around them, yet her presence seemed to absorb all sound, leaving a chilling quiet that wrapped itself around the wanderer like a fog. Each breath he took felt heavy with potential. "Trust me," she whispered, her voice curling like smoke around him. It sent a shiver down his spine, igniting that deep yearning inside. But he could sense his friend's apprehension, he could almost taste their fear. "Should we really follow her?" the young woman asked again, her voice shaking slightly. She darted her eyes around, as if the bubbles of reality might burst at any moment. The wanderer turned back to the mysterious figure, considering her offer as it flowed through the air like honey. What truth did she promise? Was it knowledge, salvation, or something darker? He swallowed hard, the lump in his throat a stubborn obstacle. Then the woman extended her hand further, fingers delicate but commanding. "Every secret of this life is laid bare," she coaxed, her tone dripping with seduction. "The underbelly of Pompeii, its whispers, are waiting for you. Are you curious, traveler?" "Fine, I'll go," he said impulsively, driven by an instinct that gnawed at him. Curiosity was a fire that couldn't be denied, and maybe it was time to ignite it. "I need to know." The tension snapped as the others exchanged looks, uncertainty danced in their expressions. "I think we all need to know," he declared, trying to anchor their wavering bravery. "What if this is our only chance to understand the truth about the creature?" A wave of murmurs rippled through the group, hesitant nods gradually forming. With each step he took toward her, electricity buzzed in the air. The woman turned on her heel, gliding away from them, beckoning with an inviting grace. They hurried after her, unsteady but resolved. The marketplace faded behind them, swallowed into shadows. As they traversed narrow alleys that twinkled faintly with flickering lamplight. As they followed her deeper into the heart of this vibrantly alive Pompeii, the atmosphere thickened with tension and unspoken questions. The aroma of grilled meats and spices danced around them, yet an underlying feeling of dread brewed in the pit of the wanderer's stomach. "What are we getting into?" a man whispered, trying to keep pace with the ethereal figure. The hurried steps echoed against stone, reverberating with the heartbeat of the city itself. The woman glanced back, lips curling into a smirk. "You'll soon learn. Pompeii holds secrets better left forgotten, but tonight, it opens its doors for you," she promised, leading them toward a lavishly decorated establishment that appeared as a sharp contrast to the modest streets. As they entered, the mood shifted sharply. Dim lights flickered overhead, and shadows twisted against the walls. The atmosphere crackled with a mix of excitement and fear. A curtain hung at the back of the room, and through it, the low sounds of laughter, gasps, and murmurs of pleasure lured them closer. "What is this place?" the young woman gasped, her voice rising in pitch, stepping back as horror mixed with fascination crossed her features. "Something extraordinary," replied the woman, stepping forward, her presence drawing them into the intimate chaos. A glimpse into the unspeakable desires of those who once walked these streets. "Will you dare to peek behind the curtain?" With their unity forged in trepidation, they stood clinging to each other, hearts pounding like war drums. This was it, the line between innocence and a harrowing revelation was thin. Would their adventure unravel into historical truths or unravel into grotesque realities? As the woman gestured towards the curtain, a whirlwind of emotions and thoughts cascaded over them, curiosity clashing with fear. With a last glance exchanged among them, they took a collective breath, knowing the unknown awaited behind that veil. What unveiled bone-chilling truths would they confront, and could they emerge unscathed from the haunting shadows of the past? The woman's eyes sparkled with anticipation as she shuffled closer to the curtain. The wanderer's heart thudded like a drum in his ears. What have we done, he thought, gripping the young woman's hand tightly. Doubt crept in, tendrils wrapping around his resolve. Are you sure we should do this? She hissed, her voice barely above a whisper. He hesitated, flicking his gaze to the others. The tension in the air was thick enough to cut. You wanted to see, he replied, forcing confidence into his words. We all wanted to understand. Remember why we came? It was a reminder, a rallying cry that flickered like the dim lights above them, urging them forward. With resolute strides, the woman brushed the curtain aside, revealing a world cloaked in shadows and flickering candles. The space beyond was more extravagant than any of them had imagined. Plush cushions, rich tapestries, and warm light. Bodies moved in a dance of whispered secrets and murmurs that filled the air with salacious energy. Each laugh echoed with a promise of indulgence, yet, beneath the surface allure, an unsettling ambience seeped into their skin. An elderly man sitting off to the side squinted at the newcomers. You don't belong here, he rasped, his gnarled fingers gripped tightly around a goblet, the liquid sloshing dangerously close to the edge. Better to turn back. Silence. The woman snapped, her voice slicing through the room. The man recoiled, retreating into the shadows, the weight of her gaze pinning him in place. Don't listen to him, she urged, stepping back to the group with a wicked grin. You are here for knowledge, for ecstasy. What truths do you wish to unveil? A chill danced down the wanderer's spine. He exchanged nervous glances with his friends. They were digging deeper into something vile, where curiosity could twist into horror. What did they want? The young woman asked, her voice trembling. What really happened here? Ah, yes, the woman mused, twirling a lock of hair as she positioned herself between the group and the pulsating energy of the room. Desire and despair bonded here. The creatures of the past have left their mark, lessons carved in bone. Will you brave the stories hidden in the folds of this city? A sudden hush enveloped them. The whispers of the patrons seemed to hush in reverence. It was as if the walls themselves were listening, eager for the company of souls willing to confront the unsettling legacy buried beneath the surface. The wanderer felt sweat trickle down his back. What are we choosing? A glance behind the curtain, or a glimpse of hell? The word sat heavily in the air, an unspoken question that flickered in the gazes of his companions. The woman stepped to the side, gesturing to the thrumming crowd beyond. Dive in. Each person here carries their own history, a piece of Pompeii's heartbeat within them. Are you brave enough to explore it? Before he could voice hesitation, the atmosphere shifted. Something flickered at the edge of his vision, a shadow shifting, moving against the light. It wasn't just the partygoers, it felt alive, electric. A primal instinct surged and anchored his feet. Do it. He urged his friends, compelling them forward. The ambience thickened, desires mingling with the tangible weight of fear. Would they dare unleash the truth hidden within these opulent walls? As they stepped into the swirling chaos, laughter exploded around them, drowning out the shadows lurking at the corners of his mind. Yet in the pit of his stomach, dread echoed louder. Just as the first sip of secrets crossed their lips, the low growl of a discontented creature rippled through the air, pulling their attention toward the depths of the room. The patrons turned, entranced, and every set of eyes settled on the group. The wanderer's heart raced anew. It was calling them the unknown, the revelations, or perhaps, their demise. What truth twisted behind that dreadful gaze? They would soon find out. The moment was closer, and with each flick of the curtain, the veil of reality frayed, as a shadow loomed on the brink of revelation. What fragile choices would lead them deeper into darkness? The atmosphere in the brothel felt electrified, thick with anticipation as the young woman squared her shoulders, stepping forward, ignited by a spark of bravery. She echoed the Wanderer's earlier motivation. "We can't turn back now. We've come too far." Her voice rang with determination, but even as she spoke, doubt clung heavily around them, like the lingering traces of the darkness they just escaped. As they moved further into the pulsing buzz of bodies and laughter, everything felt surreal. The colors were more vivid, the sounds more tantalizing. The room seemed to breathe, a living entity feeding off their scattered emotions. The elderly man had slipped into the shadows, his warning silenced by the allure of what lay before them. But there was something lurking, unseen, slithering on the edges of their awareness. "Listen," the wanderer called out, forcing his friends to focus. "Whatever awaits us, we have to face it together." His heart raced, but a flicker of hope ignited within him. They had come searching for truth, even if it was masked by ecstasy. Strengthened by unity, they advanced in unison, each step a delicate dance on the line between revelation and ruin. They found themselves drawn to a corner where a more intimate gathering pulsed with energy. Figures entwined in fervent whispers, bodies curving and gliding, past cups overflowing with crimson wine. The curiosity gripped them tightly, pulling them closer. "Will you share their stories?" the enigmatic woman with dark eyes asked again, moving like a wisp of smoke amidst the rapture. The wanderer exchanged uncertain glances with the group, weighing the thrill against the ominous shadow looming over their destinies. "Tell us what happened here," he implored her, his voice steady but laced with urgency. "That is your choice," she replied, eyes gleaming like a predatory bird. "You can listen, or you can share. The truth might just transform you." As her words swirled around them, the room seemed to go quiet. All eyes turned towards the group, eager anticipation floating in the air like a thick fog. The wanderer felt an unmistakable wave of power surging through him, bolstered by the weight of their collective presence. "What if," he started, his heart racing with the implications. "What if we share who we are? Maybe our truths will unite with these lost souls. Maybe that's the connection we need." The intensity of the moment swelled as one by one, they stepped forward, voicing their stories, fears, aspirations, heartaches, the very essence of who they were. Each revelation hung in the air, mingling with the essence of those around them, momentarily lighting the shadows. As they shared, the laughter and whispers resumed, almost as if the room welcomed the weight of their experiences. The tour guide's tales began to weave into the fabric of the brothel's past, binding them tighter into the legacy of Pompeii, a tapestry of love, laughter, betrayal, and loss. Then, suddenly, a rattle and crash echoed from the shadows. They turned to look, and from the depths of the darkness emerged a figure, both mesmerizing and terrifying. It was the ghostly woman they had encountered before, her presence more pronounced, every detail sharpened by the stories shared. "Your very fears have led you here," she whispered, her voice a haunting melody. "You have awakened the truth within these walls, the dance of life and death. Now we shall unveil the tapestry of fates that entwine you all." With an outstretched hand, she beckoned them into the depths of history. In that instant, they felt the air around them flutter and twist, merging with the layers of past and present. Shadows rolled away, revealing glimpses of Pompeii's vibrant life, the mural of dreams that adorned the city before its demise. What they saw stole their breath, scenes of joy intertwined with despair, cherished moments side by side with tragedy, love manifesting in every hue. Yet amid the beauty lay darkness too, the whispers of greed, betrayal, the weight of lives lost too soon. "This is Pompeii," she proclaimed, and in that moment, they understood. The figure before them was not merely a ghost seeking revenge or despair, she was a keeper of this tale, weaving their destinies into the fabric of history. Suddenly, it felt like they no longer walked alone. The essence of the brothel enveloped them, threading through their hearts, connecting them with those lost souls swept away by time. A vision flickered before them. What if they could change it? What if by embracing the truth, they could redefine fate? With newfound resolve, the wanderer raised his voice above the shadows, invigorated by the sense of purpose that surged within. "Together, we can bridge the gap between the past and present. We owe it to those who loved and lost here. The energy intensified, light and sound swirled, charged with urgency. As the group began to chant in unison, their voices threading together like a lifeline, the oppressive weight of despair began to lift. With each repetition of their intent, the spirits stirred, awakening as if reclaiming their stories from shadows. The room pulsed, the energy transforming, creating a symphony of echoes that reverberated through the layers of history. Hope bloomed among the silhouettes of the past, intertwining their fates. In that moment, the brothel transformed not merely a relic of despair, but a celebration of resilience, a reminder that even the darkest histories could spark change. They had faced the fear of not only their pasts but of their potential futures. As the winds of time began to swirl that glorious chaos around them, the wanderer could see the path forward. They would carry the weight of this experience, not as chains but as symbols of freedom united in shared truth, a connection that would ripple across time like waves against the very shores of Pompeii. With that, the world around them began to dissolve, colors swirling together, leaving them suspended between realms, transcending the norm. And as the echoes of their voices receded, they knew this had been just the beginning. The adventure was far from over. They had uncovered fresh truths, ignited a spark of resistance against the shadows, and found not conflict, but unity. But as they stepped into the future, whatever that may hold for them, they realized their choice was just a tiny part of something much bigger. It was the truth they would carry forth as a legacy. Now, in this moment, don't you dare miss out on what comes next. You need to subscribe now to catch that magic when it unfolds. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and let others revel in this journey with us. Flood the comments section with your reactions. What do you think about their revelation and destiny? Share your theories because your voice matters. And wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Spread the magic, spread the truth.